During the Vietnam War, small units were often deployed directly into areas with a large enemy presence. Once they were on the ground, they were expected to operate independently, with limited personnel and a fixed supply load. These small units would often endure days of close combat and suffer high casualties. They relied heavily on air and artillery support to provide some relief, and helicopters to drop food, water, and ammunition to keep them sustained. A typical patrol to contact in Vietnam is built around a platoon-sized unit, usually 25 to 40 soldiers. That's a relatively small force, and it operates independently once it's on the ground. At the top, you have the platoon leader, a lieutenant. He is responsible for overall decisions, where the unit moves, how it reacts to contact, and how it uses support. Right next to him is the platoon sergeant, a more experienced senior enlisted soldier. He handles control, organization, and keeps the unit functioning, especially once things become chaotic. With them is the radio operator, often called an RTO. His job is to maintain communication with higher command and supporting units. He carries a field radio and is critical because without him, the unit cannot call for help, report its situation, or coordinate support. You may also have a forward observer attached. This is an artillery specialist. His job is to call in and adjust artillery fire. In simple terms, if the unit needs indirect fire support, meaning shells fired from artillery units miles away, the forward observer is the one who communicates with those artillery batteries and tells them exactly where to drop rounds. He gives coordinates, observes where the rounds land, and adjusts the fire so it hits the intended target without hitting friendly forces. The platoon itself is divided into 3 rifle squads. Each squad is led by a squad leader, and each squad is split into 2 fire teams. A fire team is the smallest working unit, usually 4 men. Within each fire team, the team leader directs movement and fire for that small group. The automatic rifleman carries a machine gun, which provides sustained fire. The grenadier carries a launcher that fires explosive rounds. The riflemen carry standard rifles and make up the bulk of the team. Depending on the mission, you may also have a medic attached. The medic is responsible for treating wounded personnel in the field. He moves with the unit and provides immediate medical care under combat conditions. The key point is this is a small, self-contained unit with limited manpower. Each role has a specific function, and once the unit is on the ground, those individuals and their equipment are what determine how effectively the unit can operate and respond to enemy contact. In terms of ammunition, a typical rifleman carries 200 to 300 rounds for his weapon. The machine gun team carries significantly more, often 600 to 1,000 rounds spread out across the team so no single person is overloaded. The grenadier carries anywhere from 20 to 40 explosive rounds, along with a standard rifle or sidearm depending on the situation. Each soldier also carries hand grenades, usually a few per man, which are used in close combat or to clear areas where visibility is limited. For sustainment, the unit carries rations, commonly referred to as C rations. These are pre-packaged meals designed for field use. Typically, a soldier carries enough food for 1 to 3 days, depending on how long the patrol is expected to last. Water is critical, and each man carries 2 to 4 quarts, although in jungle conditions that is often not enough. Additional water is often brought in later by resupply. Once the unit is planned and prepared, the next step is getting it into the field. In Vietnam, that is most often done by helicopter insertion, typically using the UH-1, commonly called the Huey. The unit stages at what is called a pickup zone, that is simply the location where the helicopters land to load troops. The unit is organized into groups called chalks. A chalk is the number of soldiers assigned to a single helicopter for one lift. This ensures the unit can be moved in an organized sequence. When the helicopters arrive, loading is done quickly. Each chalk boards its assigned aircraft, and once loaded, the helicopters depart as a group or in staggered formation toward the objective area. The destination is the landing zone. That is the location where the unit will be inserted into the field. The LZ is selected during planning based on terrain, accessibility, and the likelihood of enemy presence. In many cases, the LZ is not secured ahead of time, which means the unit may be landing into an uncertain or potentially hostile area. As the helicopters approach the LZ, they may come under fire. Because of that, the aircraft minimize time on the ground. When they land, troops exit immediately and move away from the aircraft to make room for the next helicopter. Once on the ground, the first priority is to establish security. That means setting up a defensive perimeter around the landing area so the rest of the unit can arrive safely. The unit transitions quickly from movement by air to movement on the ground. If the entire unit cannot be inserted in one lift, multiple waves are required. During that time, the soldiers already on the ground are responsible for securing the LZ for the remaining elements. The important point here is that insertion is a vulnerable phase. The unit is concentrated, exposed, and not yet fully organized on the ground. Speed, coordination, and immediate action are critical to reducing that risk. Once the unit is on the ground and organized, it begins movement through the area of operations. This phase is called a patrol to contact, which means the unit is actively moving with the expectation that it may encounter enemy forces. The platoon moves in a formation suited to the terrain, most commonly a staggered file or column. That simply means the men are arranged in a line, slightly offset from one another, rather than spread out in a wide line. This allows them to move through dense jungle while still maintaining control. Spacing between soldiers is maintained, usually 5 to 10 meters. This reduces the risk that a single burst of fire or explosion will affect multiple men at once. At the same time, they remain close enough to support each other if contact occurs. At the front is the point man. His job is to detect anything unusual, movement, tracks, disturbed ground, or signs of enemy presence. He is the first to encounter any threat, so his role is critical to early warning. The rest of the unit follows, maintaining awareness of their sector. While the point man focuses forward, others are responsible for watching the sides and rear. However, due to the density of the jungle, flank security is limited, and visibility in all directions is restricted. Movement is slow and deliberate. The unit will frequently halt to listen and observe. These short stops allow them to detect sounds that would otherwise be masked by their own movement. Noise discipline is maintained at all times. Talking is minimized, and communication is kept brief and direct. Even small sounds can carry at close range in jungle conditions. The objective during this phase is not just movement, it is controlled movement with the ability to react immediately. The unit is not advancing quickly, it is advancing carefully, with the understanding that contact can occur at any moment and at very close range. At some point during movement, the unit makes contact with the enemy. In Vietnam, this usually happens at close range, often without warning. Contact may begin with a single shot or a burst of automatic fire from concealed positions. The enemy is typically not visible at first. Because of that, the unit has to react immediately, without a clear picture of where the fire is coming from. Leaders at the squad and platoon level begin issuing direct, simple commands. Their role is to restore control and organize the response. This includes identifying the direction of contact and assigning sectors of fire so that each part of the unit is covering a specific area. The unit then attempts to establish what is called a base of fire. This means one element, usually the machine gun and supporting riflemen, provides steady, continuous fire to keep the enemy suppressed. While that base of fire is maintained, another element may attempt to maneuver. Maneuver means moving under cover of that suppressive fire to get into a better position, either to close with the enemy or to gain an advantage. There is no clear front line in most of these engagements. The fight is confined, close, and often spread across a small area with overlapping fields of fire. The key point is that once contact is made, the unit shifts from controlled movement to immediate survival and control of the situation, using fire and limited movement to respond to a threat that is often only partially visible. When a unit makes contact and cannot handle the situation with its own weapons alone, it requests fire support. In Vietnam, this primarily means artillery and air support. Artillery consists of howitzers or cannons positioned miles away from the unit. They fire explosive shells based on coordinates provided by the unit in contact. These rounds can travel miles through the air and impact the target area without the unit needing direct line of sight. The person responsible for coordinating this is the forward observer. As mentioned earlier, this is a specialist trained to work with artillery units. He communicates by radio, provides the exact location of the target, and then adjusts the fire based on where the rounds land. When we say adjust, that means he observes the impact, whether it is short, long, left, or right, and then gives corrections so the next rounds land closer to the intended target. Because friendly forces are often close to the enemy, accuracy is critical. Now moving to air support. This can include fixed-wing aircraft, which are jets that deliver bombs, or strafing-fire helicopter gunships, which are armed helicopters that provide direct fire support using rockets and machine guns. Air support is requested through the same communication system. The unit provides its location, identifies the target area, and marks its own position, often using colored smoke so the pilots can distinguish friendly forces from enemy positions. The key point is that fire support extends the unit's reach beyond its own weapons. It allows a relatively small force on the ground to bring in significantly greater firepower, but only if communication and coordination are maintained accurately. During an engagement, casualties are expected, and the unit has to deal with them immediately while the fight is still ongoing. When a soldier is wounded, the first response usually comes from the nearest man, not the medic. He will apply basic first aid using what is called a field dressing, which is a bandage carried by each soldier for immediate use. The medic then moves forward when possible. The medic is trained to provide more advanced care under combat conditions. His basic job is to stop any bleeding, manage wounds, and stabilize the injured soldier. This is done as quickly as possible and often under fire. The medic carries a medical kit that includes bandages, tourniquets, and medications such as morphine, which is used to control severe pain. The key point is that medical response does not happen separately from combat. It happens at the same time, with limited resources, and under the same conditions as the rest of the unit. The priority is to stabilize the wounded and keep them alive until evacuation can be arranged. A Medevac request is sent by radio through the chain of command. When the helicopter arrives, the process is rapid. The aircraft lands or hovers briefly, and the wounded are moved onto the aircraft as quickly as possible. Time on the ground is kept to a minimum to reduce exposure to enemy fire. Once loaded, the helicopter departs immediately and transports the wounded to a medical facility where more advanced care is available. The key point is that Medevac is a time-sensitive operation. The faster a wounded soldier reaches medical care, the higher the chance of survival. Coordination, security, and speed all play a critical role in making that evacuation possible. During sustained operations, the unit will begin to run low on critical supplies. The most important of these are ammunition, water, medical supplies, and radio batteries. Without resupply, the unit's ability to continue the mission is reduced. Resupply in Vietnam is most commonly conducted by helicopter. There are two primary methods of resupply. First is landing delivery. If a landing zone is available and secure, the helicopter lands and supplies are offloaded directly to the unit. Second is aerial delivery. If a landing is not possible due to terrain or threat conditions, supplies are dropped from the air. These may be packaged in containers designed to withstand impact. The unit then retrieves the supplies once they are on the ground. When supplies arrive, distribution is immediate. There is no extended organization process. Personnel take what they need, primarily ammunition and water, and return to their positions. The key point is that resupply is essential to sustaining operations. A unit in contact cannot rely solely on what it carried in. Continued effectiveness depends on the ability to receive additional supplies quickly and under combat conditions. After the engagement and initial reorganization, the unit is required to report what occurred. This is not optional. It is part of maintaining control at higher levels of command and ensuring accurate records of the operation. After reports are received at the company and battalion level, the information is reviewed by higher command. This is where decisions are made about what happens next. This information is combined with other intelligence sources to build a broader picture of the situation in that area. In some cases, the engagement leads to follow-on operations, meaning additional patrols or assaults are planned to take advantage of what was learned. For example, if enemy positions were identified, a larger operation may be organized to target those positions directly. The key point is that the engagement does not end at the platoon level. Information flows upward, decisions are made, and those decisions directly shape what happens next on the ground. This is how individual patrols fit into the larger operational picture.
Hello. We here at Battle Docs would like to extend our thanks to the people who watch our videos. I think it's important that we remember these men and women who sacrificed so much for our country. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here. We'll see you on the next video.